If you've been losing clematis every summer, there's a good chance disease wasn't the thing killing it. Something else was. Something hiding in plain sight. Something almost nobody ever thinks to measure. And once I checked this number, everything finally made sense. Air temperature right now, 95 degrees Fahrenheit. But watch what happens the moment I point this thermometer at the side of the container. 128 degrees Fahrenheit. At that temperature, those young feeder roots aren't just stressed anymore. They're struggling to survive. And once roots stop working, the vine above them starts collapsing, no fungus required. Same afternoon, same sunlight. The only thing that changed was where I pointed the thermometer. A 33-degree difference, hiding in plain sight, and that's exactly why so many gardeners end up treating the wrong problem. Today, I'm showing you exactly what's happening inside that pot, why so many container clematis fail in zones 8 and 9, and the simple insulation trick that can bring that number way back down. So here's what everyone tells you to do. Move it to shade. That's the whole advice. Every time. But think about that for a second. Shade cools the leaves. It does almost nothing for what's happening underground. Inside a sealed plastic pot, sitting on hot concrete, baking from 3 sides at once. Nobody's measuring the actual root zone. They're just guessing. And your plant is the one paying for it. Here's the part almost nobody talks about. Now, the real disease people are usually talking about, it's called Clematis Wilt, caused by a fungus, Calophoma clematidina. It's real. It causes black stem lesions and sudden collapse. That part's not myth. But here's a number that almost nobody talks about. In university trials, plants in black containers had root growth reduced by up to 71% compared to plants in white containers. Same plant, same water, same sun. The only difference was the color of the pot. I've had this exact thing happen in my own garden. A clematis that looked perfectly healthy in the morning, completely wilted by 3 p.m., and back to normal the next day. No lesions, no disease, just heat. So which one is it, disease or heat? Honestly, most of the time you can't tell just by looking, but there's a way to actually find out. And that's what we're doing today. That's when things got really interesting. Let's start with the diagnosis, because this matters more than any fix. If you split a collapsed stem and you see black discoloration running through the inside, that's the fungus. That's Clematis wilt, the real disease. It needs to be pruned out and treated like an infection. But if the stem is clean inside and the wilting only happens in the afternoon heat and recovers by morning, that's not disease. That's water stress. That's heat. Now here's where it gets interesting. Root damage in most container plants starts showing up around 100 degrees Fahrenheit. And in full sun, containers regularly go way past that. Researchers have recorded pots hitting 130, even 140 degrees Fahrenheit. To put that in perspective, that's hot enough that you couldn't comfortably hold your hand against that plastic for more than a second or two. Your clematis roots are sitting in that all day, every day, for the entire summer. And this isn't some rare edge case. In one nursery study, containers stayed above that 100-degree danger zone for over 400 hours across a single season. That's not a bad afternoon. That's weeks and weeks of accumulated stress the plant never gets a break from. Here's the part nobody shows you. The center of the pot, still relatively cool. But the sunny side wall, that's where the real damage happens. That's where the roots are basically cooking, while the rest of the root ball is fine. Then I decided to measure something else. I wanted to know if this was just one unusually hot pot, or if every container was telling the same story. So I set up a simple experiment. 3 identical clematis, 3 different setups, same afternoon, same sun. Pot 1, black plastic, full afternoon sun, sitting right against a brick wall. Pot 2, same plant, but shaded and light-colored. Pot 3, double potted, inner pot sitting inside a larger outer pot with an air gap between them. Before I show you the numbers, take a guess. How much difference do you think 3 pots sitting 2 feet apart could actually have? Pot 1. The thermometer keeps climbing, and now we're firmly inside the danger zone. At temperatures like this, those young feeder roots stop focusing on growth and start fighting just to survive. Every afternoon becomes another round of stress. Now look at pot 2. Same afternoon, same weather. The only real difference is a lighter container and less direct heat. Already the thermometer is telling a completely different story. Those roots finally have a chance to recover instead of constantly overheating. Then came pot 3, the double pot setup. This was the moment I was most curious about. The thermometer settled more than 20 degrees cooler than the exposed black container. That was the moment I knew this wasn't just theory anymore. That isn't just a cooler pot, that's the difference between roots spending every afternoon trying to survive, or spending that same energy producing healthy vines, stronger growth, and more flowers. This lines up with what nursery researchers have already found: insulated pot-in-pot systems running over 20 degrees cooler than an exposed container, sitting in the exact same sun. Now, I want to be honest with you about something, because most channels won't tell you this part. The idea of a 2-inch gap filled with bark, or perlite. That specific number gets repeated everywhere online, but there's no actual research behind that exact number. Nobody's tested it. What the science does support is the general idea: an air gap plus shade around the pot reduces heat. The exact size, the exact filler. That's an adapted method, not a proven formula. And I'd rather tell you that honestly than pretend I found some secret perfect ratio. So here's what I'd actually do in order of how strong the evidence is. First, and this alone makes the biggest difference, switch to a light colored container or shade the pot itself, not just the plant. This one change had the single largest effect in every study I looked at. Second, get that container off hot pavement or brick. Even a couple inches of clearance or a wooden stand makes a real difference. Third, and only after those two, try the double pot method as an extra layer of protection, not your only fix. And don't ignore watering while you're at it. Heat and dryness compound each other. A root zone that's already hot and then goes dry stresses the plant twice as fast. Consistent watering, even a simple schedule, buys your plant real margin during the worst afternoons. Here's mine, start to finish. First, I set the empty outer pot down, just a couple of inches wider than the clematis pot on every side. Then I gently lower the clematis, still in its original container, into the center so there's an even gap all the way around. Now I slowly pour coarse bark into that gap until the inner pot is completely surrounded. I don't pack it down tightly. I leave it loose because those tiny pockets of trapped air help slow the heat before it reaches the root ball. That's the whole idea behind the insulation. No cutting, no gluing, no special tools. Just a simple 10-minute project that creates a much cooler environment for your clematis roots during the hottest part of the day. Before you build yours, there's one important detail that depends entirely on where you live. Because not all Zone 8 and Zone 9 gardens experience summer the same way. If you're in a humid Zone 8 or 9, the southeast for example, your afternoons are brutal, but your nights cool things down fast so the root zone actually gets a recovery window. If you're in a hot, dry Zone 8 or 9, like Texas or the inland Southwest, that heat barely lets up, even after sunset. So if that's you, take the shading and double pot advice more seriously than the rest of us. Your plant gets less overnight relief. The single most common mistake I see in these zones is watering in the morning and walking away for the day. That's fine in spring. It's not enough once real summer heat hits. On the worst afternoons, that root zone can dry out and overheat at the same time. And that's exactly the combination that pushes a stressed plant into full collapse. And if a plant does wilt hard on a brutal day, don't panic and don't rip it out. Get it out of direct sun immediately, water it deeply, and give it a day or two. One afternoon of heat stress doesn't always mean you've lost the plant. If the roots cool down quickly enough, many clematis recover surprisingly well. That's one of the easiest ways to tell heat stress from true disease. Someone asked me last week if deep planting fixes wilt. Quick answer, no. Planting the crown an inch or two below the soil helps the plant regrow from underground buds. If it does get damaged, it's insurance, not a cure. Good practice, wrong expectation. And here's your bonus tip, the one I promised you at the start. If you're tired of fighting this every summer, switch some of your collection to species types like Clematis Wilt or Clematis texensis. They're naturally more heat tolerant and far less prone to wilt than the big flowered hybrids everyone plants first. Here's what I really want you to take from this. If you've lost clematis after clematis in the summer heat, that was never you being a bad gardener. You were fighting a problem you literally could not see. Now you can. Once you understand what's actually happening around those roots, growing container clematis in zone 8 or 9 stops being a gamble every July and starts being something you can actually predict and control. Sometimes the biggest gardening problems aren't the ones you can see. They're the ones you never think to measure. And once you start measuring them, everything changes. You don't have to keep guessing every time your clematis droops. You can check. A $5 thermometer will tell you more than any forum post ever will. So here's my question for you. Have you ever actually checked your container's temperature? Drop your zone in the comments, and I'll tell you exactly what to watch for. Subscribe, hit the bell, because next week, I'm running this exact test through an entire summer, start to finish, to see what actually survives. I'll see you in the next one.